He pinned me down, choking me until I couldn't breathe, slapping me across the head, and forcing anal even as I begged him to stop.
My name is Katerina Lazarou. I'm 33 now, and I was in that life for about 2.5 years. I still remember what it felt like waking up in our little apartment in Athens back then. I was 25, 26, working the front desk at this mid-range hotel near the Plaka. Nothing fancy, but it was steady. I'd get there early, fix my hair in the staff bathroom, put on my uniform, and smile at guests even when my feet were already killing me. In the afternoons, I'd pick up shifts at a small tour agency, mostly helping with English-speaking groups, booking day trips to the islands. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was honest. I liked feeling useful. Dimitris and I had been together since I was 19. He was the first person who ever made me feel safe after my dad died. We met at a cafe near the college where I was studying tourism. He had this easy laugh, and he'd tease me about my accent when I tried to speak English with tourists. We moved in together pretty quick. Our place was small, just one bedroom with a tiny balcony where we'd drink coffee in the mornings and watch the city wake up. He worked construction back then. Good money when the jobs came. We'd cook together at night. Nothing special, usually pasta or whatever was cheap at the market. I'd tell him about the guests I met that day, the funny ones, the rude ones. He'd complain about his boss. It felt normal. It felt like us. I grew up in a tiny fishing village on the Peloponnese. My dad was out on the boat every day, smelling like salt and engine oil when he came home. My mom cleaned rooms at the local hotel. We didn't have much, but we had each other. I was the oldest, so I helped with my little sister, made sure dinner was on the table, kept the house clean. Teachers always said I was a good student, that I had a nice face and could go far. I believed them. After my dad drowned in that storm when I was 16, everything got harder. My mom, she fell apart, started drinking. The house got quiet in a bad way. I promised myself I wouldn't end up like that. I was going to finish school, get a real job in a nice hotel, maybe even management one day, and pull my family out of the hole we were in. That was the plan. With Dimitris, I thought I was building something real. He'd talk about the future, us getting married, maybe moving to a better neighborhood, having kids someday. I loved him. God, I really did. He was the one I told everything to. When I'd get anxious about money or my mom calling drunk, he'd pull me close and say, "We got this, Kat, you and me." I believed him. I needed to believe him. There were little cracks even then, I guess. Sometimes he'd get quiet when work was slow. He'd scroll on his phone more, stay out later with his friends. I'd feel this tightness in my chest, like if I lost him, I'd have nothing. My biggest fear was always being alone, turning into my mom, dependent and broken. So I worked harder. I picked up extra shifts, smiled bigger at the guests, saved every euro I could. I'd lie in bed at night next to him, listening to his breathing, and think, this is enough. We're going to be okay. I was proud of the life I was trying to build. I wasn't some naive girl. I knew things could go wrong. Life had already shown me that. But I thought if I just kept being responsible, kept loving him right, kept pushing forward, we'd make it. I had no idea how fast it could all slip away. Then the crisis hit harder than we expected. The hotel started cutting hours. At first, it was just one less shift a week, then two. Management kept saying it was temporary, that tourism would pick back up. I believed them for a while. I'd stand at the reception desk watching families check in, smiling like everything was fine, but inside I was calculating every euro. One Tuesday morning, they called me into the back office. My manager looked tired, like he didn't want to do this. He said they had to let 3 of us go. I was one of them. Just like that. No big scene, no yelling. They gave me 2 weeks' pay and a reference letter that didn't say much. I walked out of there holding my little bag with my work shoes, feeling this weird numbness. I told myself it was okay. I still had the tour agency gigs. I could find something else. But jobs weren't easy to come by. I'd spend my mornings sending out applications, riding the metro to interviews, sitting in waiting rooms with other people who looked just as worried as me. Most places wanted someone younger or with more experience, or they wanted English and German, and I only had decent English. The rejections started piling up. Then Dimitris lost his job. The construction company slowed down because nobody was building. He came home one night, sat on the couch, and just stared at the floor. "It'll be fine," he said. "Something will come up." But his voice didn't sound sure anymore. Money got tight fast. The rent was already late. Then I found out I had thyroid problems, Hashimoto's, the doctor said. The medicine wasn't crazy expensive, but with no steady income, it added up. I'd skip doses sometimes to make it last longer. I didn't tell Dimitris at first. I didn't want him to worry more. We started arguing about little things, the electric bill, whether we could afford meat that week. He'd get frustrated and go out with his friends, come back smelling like beer. I'd stay up late cleaning the apartment like if everything looked perfect, maybe it would be. My mom called more often, drunk, asking for money I didn't have. I'd send her what I could and then feel sick about it. The collection calls started. First they were polite, then they weren't. I'd see the number and my stomach would drop. I'd let it ring, heart pounding, pretending I wasn't home even though I was sitting right there. Dimitris would pace the room, running his hands through his hair, saying we needed a solution. "Just temporary," he kept repeating. "We just need to get through this month." I remember one night we sat on the balcony with no lights on because we were saving electricity. The city was still moving around us. Cars, people laughing in the street, but it felt like our little world was getting smaller and smaller. I was so tired. Tired of smiling for interviews, tired of pretending to my sister that everything was okay, tired of feeling scared every time the phone rang. I kept thinking if I just held on a little longer, something would change. But deep down, I could feel it slipping. The fear of ending up like my mom was getting louder every day. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I couldn't keep going like this. The collection calls got meaner. They'd call at 7 in the morning, at dinner, even late at night. One guy told me they'd take us to court, that we'd lose the apartment. I'd hang up shaking. I tried everything I could think of. I asked my old manager for any kind of work, even cleaning rooms. He said they had nothing. I went to the tour agency every day begging for more hours. They gave me 2 half-days a week. It wasn't enough. I sold some jewelry my dad gave me. Then I sold my good winter coat. Dimitri sold his tools. We ate rice and beans for days. I'd lie awake next to him, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning. There had to be another way. I thought about going back to my village, but that would mean admitting failure and dragging my sister down with me. I couldn't do that. Dimitri started talking about it more and more. At first it was vague. "Some of the foreign guys at the old hotel, they have money. They're looking for company, just dinner maybe." I shut it down every time. "No, I'm not doing that." I'd get angry, tell him I wasn't my mother. He'd apologize, say he was desperate too. Then a few days would pass and the phone would ring again and he'd bring it up softer. "It's not forever, Kat. Just enough to get us out of this hole. You'd control everything. You're smart. You could do it safe." I hated him for suggesting it. I hated myself for not having a better answer. I spent whole afternoons walking around the city, applying to every cafe, every shop, even places I knew wouldn't hire me. My thyroid meds ran out and I started feeling foggy and exhausted all the time. One night I cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear me. I kept thinking, this isn't who I am. I'm the girl who takes care of her family. I'm not this. But the fear was winning. The fear of being on the street. The fear of my mom calling drunk and me having nothing to send her. The fear of losing Dimitris, the only person who still made me feel like I wasn't completely alone. He started crying one night. Actually crying. Said he felt like less of a man, that he couldn't protect me. That if I did this one time, maybe two, we could pay the rent, get the collectors off our back, breathe again. He swore it would be temporary. He'd be right there, make sure I was safe. I made him promise it would only be a few times. I told him I needed to think. For 3 more days, I held out. Then another collection notice came under the door. I stared at it for a long time. My hands were shaking. I walked into the living room where he was sitting and I said the words I never thought I'd say. "Okay, just a few times. Only until we're caught up." Dimitris arranged it. He said the man was a regular German businessman who stayed at the hotel sometimes. He handled everything. I spent the whole day feeling sick to my stomach. I took a long shower, put on a simple black dress I had from work, and tried to do my makeup with steady hands. He kept telling me it would be okay, that the guy was nice, that it was just one night. I took a taxi to a hotel in a nicer part of Athens, not far from Syntagma Square. The building was one of those modern ones with glass doors and a doorman who didn't even look at me twice. Dimitris had given me the room number. My legs felt heavy walking down the hallway. I stood outside the door for almost a minute before I knocked. The man who opened it was maybe 50, balding, wearing a white hotel robe. He smiled, polite, like this was a normal business meeting. "Katerina? Come in, come in." His English was good, but with a strong accent. The room was big, nicer than anything I'd seen in a while. There was a bottle of wine open on the table and some snacks. He poured me a glass right away. We sat on the couch and made small talk. He asked what I did, if I liked Athens, how long I'd been doing this. I lied and said not long. My voice sounded weird to my own ears. He talked about his work in shipping, his wife back in Munich, how stressful travel was. It felt surreal, like we were pretending this was a date. After a while, he stood up and said, "Shall we?" He was gentle enough, but the whole thing felt mechanical. I kept my eyes closed most of the time and tried to think about the money. It didn't last very long. When it was over, he went to the bathroom. I lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling this strange emptiness wash over me. He came back, pleasant again, and handed me an envelope. "You were very nice," he said. "Thank you." I didn't count it in front of him. I just put it in my bag, got dressed quickly, and left. In the elevator, I finally looked. It was more cash than I made in a month at the hotel. Outside, the night air felt cold. I walked a couple blocks before I called a taxi. On the ride home, I kept touching the envelope in my purse like it might disappear. The city lights blurred past the window. I didn't cry. I just felt different, like something important had quietly broken and I couldn't put it back together. When I got home, Dimitris was waiting. He hugged me tight and asked if I was okay. I said yes, but I wasn't sure that was true anymore. The money changed things fast. After the first couple of months, we caught up on all the bills. I paid the landlord 6 months in advance just to see the look on his face. No more calls in the middle of the night. No more counting coins for groceries. I bought real clothes, not the cheap stuff from the market. Nice dresses, good shoes, things that made me look like I belonged in those hotels. Dimitri started acting like we'd won the lottery. He'd take me out to eat at places we used to walk past and dream about. One night we sat at a table with actual candles and I ordered whatever I wanted. I kept thinking, this is what normal people do when they're not scared all the time. The trip started happening. A client flew me to Thessaloniki for the weekend. Another one took me to a fancy resort on Mykonos. I'd land in these nice airports, get picked up in cars with drivers, and stay in suites bigger than our whole apartment. One guy from London wanted me to go with him to a yacht party. I stood there in a dress he bought me, holding a glass of champagne, listening to people talk about millions of euros like it was pocket change. I smiled and nodded and tried not to look like I didn't belong. There were strange requests, too. One older client just wanted me to sit across from him at dinner and listen to him complain about his kids. Paid me full rate for 3 hours of basically being a paid friend. Another guy paid extra just to have me wear a specific color and talk about my childhood. It felt weird, but I got used to it. I started noticing how the world worked at that level. The way powerful men would say things in front of me like I wasn't even there. Secrets about contracts, affairs, who owed who favors. I heard a lot. Sometimes it scared me a little, but mostly it made me feel like I was part of something bigger. Dimitris handled more and more. He'd pick the clients, set the prices, text me the hotel details. After good nights, he'd be waiting with flowers or new earrings. "You're doing amazing," he'd say. "We're almost there." I believed him. The fear of being broke started to fade. I could send real money home. My sister got new school books. My mom sounded happier on the phone. Little by little, the boundaries blurred. Things I swore I'd never do started feeling like no big deal. A last-minute trip, staying longer than planned, smiling through conversations that made my skin crawl. I'd come home, take a shower, put the cash in the drawer, and go to sleep next to Dimitris like it was just another job. One morning, I woke up in our apartment, looked at the new furniture we bought, the nice clothes in the closet, and realized I wasn't pretending anymore. This wasn't a temporary thing I stepped in and out of. This had become my normal, and part of me didn't want to go back to the way things were before. The first year wasn't so bad, or at least that's what I told myself. The money kept coming and we paid off more debts. But slowly the work started changing. Clients got more demanding. Not all of them, but enough. One guy from Switzerland wanted me to call him Sir the whole time and act like I was scared of him. It was just acting, but it left a bad taste. Another one, a regular from Germany, started asking for things that hurt. Not crazy at first, just rougher. I'd come home with bruises I had to hide with makeup. Dimitris would look at the messages and say, "He pays double. We need it." I'd argue sometimes, but then the fear of going back to being broke would hit me, and I'd agree. I learned to read people fast. The second I walked into a hotel room, I could tell if the night was going to be easy or if I'd have to perform the whole time. I got really good at pretending, smiling, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, acting interested in their boring business stories. I started living on a weird schedule, sleeping during the day, working at night. I'd miss my sister's birthday because I was in a hotel in Crete with some client. I'd make up excuses to my mom. Extra shifts at the hotel. The lies got easier. I barely thought about them anymore. I'd delete the messages every night, clear my call history, have 3 different versions of my story ready depending on who asked. Old friends stopped calling. I canceled plans so many times they just gave up. I told myself it was fine, that I'd catch up with them later when things settled. But later never came. My world got smaller. It was mostly me, Dimitris, and whatever hotel room I was in that week. There were kind clients too. One older Greek man treated me like a granddaughter. He just wanted company and someone to eat with. He'd talk about his late wife and tip extra. Those nights were almost peaceful. But then there were the others. The ones who wanted to talk about their dark fantasies like it was normal conversation. The ones who got jealous if I checked my phone. The ones who tried to negotiate unsafe stuff at the last minute. I got good at saying no without sounding like I was saying no. Dimitris changed too. He wasn't just my boyfriend anymore. He controlled the phone, the schedule, the money. He'd get mad if I questioned a client. "You think you can do this without me? You'd be on the street." I started believing him. I was making good money, but I had no idea how to do anything else now. My old resume felt like it belonged to someone else. I remember one Christmas Eve. I was in a fancy suite with a client from France while Dimitri was at home alone. I sent him money for dinner and sat there in a silk robe watching the client open expensive gifts for his own family over video call. I felt nothing, just empty. The expensive hotels stopped impressing me. The views, the room service, the gifts, it all started feeling the same. I'd catch myself checking the exits of every hotel room without thinking, carrying big amounts of cash and feeling paranoid the whole ride home, forgetting what day it was, sleeping 12 hours straight after a bad night and waking up not knowing if it was Tuesday or Sunday. The German client kept coming back. He got rougher each time. Dimitris kept pushing me to see him. He's our biggest payer. One night I came home with a split lip and Dimitris just hugged me and said we'd take a break soon. But we never did. The breaks got shorter. The excuses got weaker. I stopped looking at myself in the mirror for too long. My eyes looked different, harder. I'd smile at clients the same way I used to smile at guests at the reception desk, but now it was automatic. I didn't even feel the difference anymore. My sister asked me once what I was doing for work. I lied so smoothly it scared me. I told her I got promoted to a better hotel position. She believed me. That night, I sat on the balcony smoking a cigarette. I'd started smoking again, and realized I couldn't remember the last time I felt genuinely happy. Not excited about money, not relieved after a good booking, just happy. The worst part was how normal it all started to feel. I'd wake up, check the schedule Dimitri sent me, get ready, go to the hotel, do the job, come home, hand over the money, sleep, repeat. The girl who wanted to work in tourism and save her family felt like someone I used to know. I barely recognized her anymore. By the second year, I had almost completely accepted it. This was my life now. This was who I was. And that scared me more than anything, but I didn't know how to stop. The German client was one of our regulars, the one who always paid well. Dimitri said he wanted the whole night this time and was offering good money. I wasn't excited, but I needed the cash. I'd had rough nights with him before, but nothing I couldn't handle. Or at least that's what I told myself on the way to the hotel. He greeted me at the door, smiling, already a little drunk. The room smelled like whiskey. We had some wine, talked about his business trip like always. Everything seemed normal at first. He was in a good mood, joking around. But after an hour, he started drinking faster. His voice got louder, his hands got rougher. I noticed the change right away. The way he grabbed me wasn't playful anymore. I tried to slow him down, said maybe we should take it easy. He laughed like I was being cute. Then things moved fast. He got aggressive, really aggressive. He started choking me during the act, hard. I couldn't breathe. I tapped his arm, tried to push him off, but he didn't stop. He hit me on the side of the head a couple times. Everything got blurry. Then he forced anal even though I kept saying no, please stop. I begged him. He didn't care. I really thought I might pass out. The fear was worse than the pain. At some point, he finally finished and passed out on the bed. I lay there next to him for what felt like forever, trying to catch my breath, shaking. My neck hurt. My head was pounding. I was crying quietly so I wouldn't wake him. That's when it hit me. Dimitri's knew this guy. He knew how rough he could get. He'd sent me anyway, for the money. I got up slowly, got dressed with shaking hands, grabbed my things, and left the room. The hallway lights were too bright. I took the elevator down, walked through the lobby like a ghost. The doorman asked if I needed a taxi. I just nodded. Outside, normal people were walking around, laughing, living their regular lives while I stood there feeling like I'd been hollowed out. I got home around 4 in the morning. Dimitri's was on the couch waiting. He saw my face and the marks on my neck and actually had the nerve to ask if I got the full payment. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, "You knew." He tried to explain, said the guy was usually fine, that we needed the money. I went to the bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the floor with my back against the wall. That was the moment everything shattered. All the lies I'd been telling myself for 2 years collapsed. This wasn't a temporary solution. This wasn't me being in control. I had let the person who was supposed to love me sell me to someone who could have really hurt me. And I knew right then I couldn't do it anymore. Not one more night. I tried to leave 3 times before it stuck. The first time I packed a bag after that night with the German and told Dimitri's it was over. He cried, begged, said I was abandoning him, that without him I'd end up on the street again. I lasted 2 days before the panic set in, and I went back. The second time, I actually left Athens for a week and stayed with a cousin. But the money ran out fast, and the fear of being alone was stronger than the shame. The third time, an old colleague from the hotel, Maria, saved me. She'd noticed how much I'd changed. The weight loss, the way I jumped at loud noises, how I avoided everyone. One afternoon, she showed up at our apartment unannounced. She took one look at the bruises I couldn't hide anymore and said, "You're coming with me. Now." She didn't give me time to think. She helped me pack while Dimitri's was out, drove me to her sister's place on the other side of the city, changed my number that same day. Leaving was hell. Dimitri's called from different numbers, left messages saying he loved me, that I owed him, that he'd tell everyone what I'd been doing. I blocked him eventually, but the fear stayed for months. I had nightmares almost every night. I'd wake up gasping, thinking I was back in that hotel room. Panic attacks hit me at random. On the bus, in the grocery store. I'd have to sit down and remind myself I was safe. Maria helped me get a job at a small family hotel on Crete. Nothing glamorous, just reception work again, making beds when they were short-staffed, smiling at tourists like the old days. The pay was low at first. I lived in a tiny room above the hotel. No more nice clothes, no more envelopes of cash. I had to learn how to budget again, how to eat cheap, how to be bored. Normal life felt so strange. I didn't know how to fill my evenings. I'd forgotten how to talk to people without calculating what they wanted from me. Therapy started a few months later. I found a woman in Heraklion who worked with trauma. At first, I barely spoke. Then it all came out. The guilt about my family, the shame about what I'd done, the anger at Dimitri's for turning me into something I never wanted to be. Some days I left sessions feeling worse, like opening old wounds that had never really closed. I still don't trust men easily. I keep my distance. Even friendly guests at the hotel make me nervous sometimes. I haven't been in a relationship since. The loneliness is heavy, but it's better than the alternative. I talk to my sister more now. She knows some of it, not all. My mom. I send money when I can, but I keep my distance. I couldn't save her. I could barely save myself. Today, I'm 33. I wake up early, make coffee, walk along the beach before my shift. The island is quiet. I like it that way. I still see my therapist once a month. Some nights are still hard. I still catch myself deleting messages I don't need to delete or checking the exits in new places. The money doesn't impress me anymore. I know what it really costs. I still can't forgive Dimitri's, not for the things he did and not for calling it love while he was doing them. My biggest regret is believing that I had to break myself to keep someone who was supposed to protect me. If there's one thing I want people to understand, it's this. I always tried to save my family, but in the end, I had to save myself from the person I thought was my safe place. And I'm still doing that every single day.